Hi everyone, in this segment of Cosmic Currents, I'd like to discuss transiting Jupiter through the sign of Pisces. Now, what's going to be significant in the energy for this year, one of the more major energies is Jupiter as it transits through Neptune, through Pisces, it'll conjunct Neptune. And this conjunction is going to happen at 23 degrees. And it will occur on April 12th. And the people that will be most affected, obviously, is the water signs. It'll make beautiful trines to whatever areas of that chart, but particularly if you have any angles or if you have any planets near that 21 to 25 degree mark, I expect some beautiful things. So as well, the earth signs. It'll make some beautiful aspects to those areas as well. And that same range applies to the earth signs as well. Now, this Jupiter and Neptune cycle is yet another 14-year cycle. It's what we call in astrology a synodic cycle. So as they move through the zodiac, both planets are moving forward. So it takes a certain amount of time before they'll ever conjunct again. And Jupiter and Neptune is approximately about 14 years. This is the beginning of a new cycle amidst other major cycles that occurred in 2020, such as the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that happened 3 times, and that was a major energy for the year of 2020. And we also had Saturn and Pluto, and we ended the year with Saturn and Jupiter at 0 degrees Aquarius, right around the solstice. So this is adding another layer of energy that amidst, these major cycles that have begun in 2020, that usher in a new layer of hope, compassion, empathy, optimism, and even forgiveness. So every sign, however, and every conjunction does have a range of expression. And it just like as if you're going to go to a hardware store and get a paint swab from light to blue, there's that range of expression. Same thing for any planetary archetype that can manifest. Now, just looking at my notes here, the first thing I do want to touch on is that Pisces has to do with addictions, and it's the detachment from what reality and what we do to escape. Now, it's our unconscious self-defeating behaviors. And if you choose to work with professionals who deal in these areas, like counselors or psychologists, great results can be made by undertaking this type of healing, because Jupiter in Pisces conjunct Neptune. This is a very, very healing type of energy. And if a person hasn't had any type of counseling or even worked with a psychologist, this could create a shift in consciousness that promotes that, because Jupiter can either expose it or expand it, right? Because when I say expose, because Jupiter is all about truth. So the truth of the state of the matter, and one can initiate, which is, the flavor of the archetype of a conjunction, which is likened to like a new moon, which is the sun and moon directly aligned with each other, which is when we plant seeds of intentions. Conjunction, same thing. Now, with this, with getting the help that people need, it'll be extremely beneficial. Like, you can have great revelations talking to psychologists, for example. Being the sign that governs addictions and self-defeating behaviors. But the thing is, addictions can present themselves in many forms, and Neptune, what it does, it rules obviously drugs and alcohol, and it's very conscious. It's very important to be conscious of this energy, because Jupiter that rules Sagittarius is a mutable energy, and Neptune, which rules Pisces, is also very mutable energy. So there's not a lot of groundedness to this energy. It's very mutable. So whichever the wind blows, whether the wind takes you in this energy, it's important not to let yourself be swept away and taken away by this energy. because that's exactly what Pisces and Neptune is all about. It's this trance-like state. It's hypnotic. It's delusional, illusional, and it's wandering type of energy. So, if you're doing spiritual work, or even if you're doing, work into self-conscious, self-defeating behaviors, it's very important to stay grounded. And I can't stress that enough when it comes to this energy. So be mindful. You find yourself being swept away, taken into the clouds, wandering around, ground yourself. Now, the thing is, too, is that when it comes to Pisces, now, it also rules psychedelics. And there's been a tremendous amount of research that's been done with psychedelics and its uses and benefits and curative effects when it comes to people with mental health diagnoses such as PTSD, war veterans, for example. And the treatment to date has been, done via big pharma medication, big pharma meds. And unfortunately, the results that have been had with prescription medication is that they exasperate the system, the symptoms that that people that have been suffering from depression, for example, and other mood disorders as well. Now, you could definitely see probably an increase of psychedelic use, microdosing, for example, to heal. And there's been great studies that have been coming out, and even more extensive studies that have been done on the subject. Another use and another expansion of things that can be had under here, speaking about psychedelics, is you probably going to see a surge in people seeking the ayahuasca experience that alters their state of consciousness and exposes obviously the shadow, and you go along a journey for healing. And people have been reporting, Ron White actually, for example, who suffers from alcoholism, has reported great healing effects from his ayahuasca experience. And as well, some people can be looking to hypnosis, for example, to treat other addictions such as smoking. Whatever healing experience you're seeking, this is a very, very great energy for that. And the results that you're anticipating can be much more than you possibly imagined. So, because this is definitely a dreaming big type of energy. So the outcomes and the results can probably be bigger than you ever anticipated. Now, another thing to escape reality, I just want to mention too, is that what we've been seeing, obviously with Facebook, making its shift into the metaverse, for example, the detachment and escaping from reality. This is another way this energy can expand that. So I believe Apple is also creating some tools to expand that digital reality, where you could just plug in, put on your virtual goggles, and you have an oasis waiting right there for you. And you have birds chirping, water rolling, whatever that oasis is for you, mountainous views. The serenity is basically what's waiting for you with the plug-in thing. And it's a type of virtual fix, drug-like type fix, if you will, but in a virtual sense. So this can also expand under the influence of Jupiter and Pisces. On the other spectrum of healing, instead of addictions, is that spiritual work. Now, Jupiter conjunct Neptune is a soul awakening type of energy, which is, when you do meditative practices, for example, this is another altered state of consciousness, and which has presented itself via, the spiritual dimension of things. And Pisces rules things like the divine, the oneness, the ethereal, gateway to other realms. And Pisces it's everything that's magical, it's everything that's mystical and mysterious. But it's also the sign of miracles. So with Jupiter and Neptune, it's definitely the archetype of the mystic, because Jupiter is the guru, the archetype of the guru. It's the archetype of the mentor. It's also about speaking truth and revelations and preaching things, and preaching spirituality, preaching the oneness, preaching and promoting transcendence and divine connection, and the dissolving of the ego, for the purpose of humanity at large, right? So you can see people, gurus in the spiritual area that that'll pop up and be or the ones that exist right now more onto the forefront, and perhaps more people looking towards spiritual gurus at this time. Now the thing is too is that for people, you can see some mass meditations as well, mass global type of meditations, and but on a personal level, if you're looking to do meditations, this is where wisdom and truth blends into the soul. So if you have been practicing meditation, you'll see that the boundaries will dissolve of where you've been capable of achieving through meditation, and beautiful results can be had under this energy through meditative practices. A lot more people will probably be initiating, and again, that's reflective of a conjunction here, meditative practices, exploring that area of spirituality there where they've never thought they would be interested in something like that before. So this is very beneficial energy for the collective at large, because the thing is, we also have to look at Jupiter and Neptune ruling Sagittarius and Pisces respectively. They're both universal signs and they're both collective signs. So this is a very expansive, bigger than us type of energy. So whatever we do for us, and it goes back to the saying, you want to make the change in the world, be the change you want to see. So this does do that. So by going inwards, connecting within, the divine within, and aligning yourself with spirit, source energy, reflects in the collective at large. So it's definitely boundless in its energy. And Jupiter, I'm just going through some more notes here. Jupiter and Neptune is definitely about having, the connection of oneness and being able to manifest it. Because Jupiter is a very visionary type of energy. And when it comes to, again, spiritual practices, about, the ability to manifest the best possible outcome from whatever it is that you want to create within your reality. When we set intentions, it comes from divine inspiration. So you do have that connection to source, that definite sense of oneness. Now the thing is, when it comes to the practices of the law of attraction, there's also the law of detachment. So the surrender, Pisces, Neptune, is also about that. So as you envision the best possible outcome for yourself of what you want to manifest and what your intention setting is all about, it's also about surrendering it to the universe, letting it go, and trust, Jupiter, that the universe will provide it for you in its own divine timing. As with this energy, what's going to also occur is that more people will be more conscious of that inner void. If for some of us, not all of us, but a good portion of us, where we're not aligned with our soul calling. So there's that inner void that needs to be filled, and you'll notice that more people will be more driven to have to do work that is, or take on businesses that have more of a soul feeling of soul fulfillment type of purpose, that will be more soul filling. It'll be more purposeful. It'll have more meaning to their lives. You'll see an increase of people doing charity work, for example, being part of charity drives, and taking part in charitable organizations to fill that void, to have a sense of purpose and of service to humanity. But that calling will be strong. And the thing is too is that this is Jupiter conjunct Neptune is a very charitable, generous type of energy, and you'll notice this at play in the large. And this is going to be happening in April. So, given it's springtime, I caution for floods because it's a very wet type of energy. Neptune obviously ruling the oceans, god of the seas. The given a spring and especially here in Canada, and usually cold snaps early on. However, as our winter will progress, but bottom line, having heavy rains in April before full frost is done makes it subject to flooding, and the expansiveness of rain can create some issues. Now, where would this flooding occur? I'm just going to take my notes, and it's because I was looking at the astrocartography and taking a look at the notes when it comes to the possibilities of where this can occur. So, where do we normally look? We look to where this Jupiter-Neptune line goes through across the world. And in Canada, we've already experienced, some massive flooding here in British Columbia. And why? Because we had Neptune on that ice sea going just an hour away from where I'm recording right now. And the reason why it didn't affect us as much because we're at a higher elevation. So wherever these lines go through, the lower elevations within that proximity tend to be more affected. And when it comes to Jupiter-Neptune, that line goes right through eastern Canada this time. And it goes through the province of Nova Scotia, I believe. Yeah, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. And it also goes right through West Labrador. So as you draw that line through the Labrador, West Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, you'll notice that there's an area of Quebec right there. So not the entirety of Quebec, but that particular area in the lower elevations is particularly sensitive to this energy. And then that runs along all throughout, going through the eastern United States and Boston, Portland, Augusta, in that area, particularly very sensitive energies. And in the world, we're looking at Indonesia and South China. So hopefully people here will be safe. The thing is, with Neptune, it does create refugees, homelessness. It creates victims. There's an expansion of these areas. So that, coupled with that very charitable, generous energy, it really has me leaning towards the fact, given it's also spring, that excessive flooding can occur. But Jupiter conjunct Neptune, you want to see charity at work. You want to see the floodgates of charity that restores faith and hope in humanity. Like, this is the aspect that'll do it. And given the eclipses are right after, and you have given the eclipses are right after, like the energy of the eclipse is not happening at the eclipse. You feel a buildup of that energy towards there, and it lasts for about 6 months. So they say about given about a month before that energy is felt, and then so just within that couple of weeks before, we have that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, and the Jupiter-Neptune will still be in conversation with each other, as we head towards the actual eclipse. Now, the thing is, Pisces, it's all about the smoke and mirrors as well, right? It's that fogginess, that haze that, you can't really see clearly through. And Jupiter is all about truth. The word of caution when it comes to this is that, on the lower vibration, Jupiter does represent, lies, deceit, delusion, confusion, the illusion. And Jupiter can expand that. And in all reality, things can be created under this influence. So it's important, getting back to that stay grounded energy, not to have your head too much in the clouds where when something's presented to you, it's too good to be true. Well, which can be probably true. But the thing is, whatever's created under this energy won't last, because Jupiter is all about truth. And that's what it will expose, is truth. And especially with the South Node in Scorpio that has made that shift back in January. We're talking about the true node here, making its shift into the sign of Scorpio and Taurus. But I want to focus on that South Node in Scorpio. It has that Saturn-Pluto quality to purge and eliminate secrets, tyranny, insert Scorpio adjective. So, yeah, and that's what it wants to do, right? So you have that coupled with, the Neptune, which is being porous and boundless to the truth. It'll definitely expose things. With this Jupiter Neptune, it's also highly instinctive. So even though lies and deceit are presented to you, you'll have that intuitive nudge and say, something just doesn't feel right here. And always, always, always listen to your intuition. And for those who would have that gut feeling that you probably didn't heed its warning, stuff like that, Jupiter is all about having you trust, because Jupiter is what it is archetypically, which is truth and trust, about trusting that psychic intuition that you may have moving forward through this confusion. So follow that. Dreams. Neptune is all about dreams, and this energy is all about dreaming big. And you know what? Take note where this falls in your chart, because the last time Jupiter was in Pisces was 2010. But at that time, Neptune was in Aquarius. It wasn't in Pisces at the time. So now you have both these energies in Pisces. So, and it's also a good time actually to reflect on how Neptune has been treating you as it's been transiting through Pisces, because Jupiter meeting up with Pisces too, can exasperate that experience as well. But wherever this falls in your chart, you'll have a good sense of possibilities that it can exist here. And in quite a literal sense, this is about dream work. If you're into lucid dreaming, working with your dreams, getting the truth, the messages with your dreams, it's a great idea to keep a dreaming journal. So very positive for dream work. And it's you can get important insights and truths when it comes to your dreams. So it's definitely important to pay attention to those, because psychic sensitivity increases under this influence. All careers that are Piscean in nature will receive a boost during this time. People like, so obviously careers such as astrologers, and why is astrology can be considered under the influence of Pisces? That's because it's symbolic. Astrology is a symbolic language, and Pisces is all about the abstract. It's all about symbolism, glyphs, and having the ability to interpret that, Jupiter. So you'll see an expansion of astrologers that, or an increase of people presenting themselves as astrologers as well. So mediums, psychics, hypnotists, magicians, sleight of hand, right? The illusion. Psychologists, tour guides that do whale watching, or the angling, or the ones that tour sacred sites, spiritual sites, or diving expeditions within the oceans. And spiritual retreats can just receive a surge under this influence as well. But Pisces is also creative. Because in order to be able to create beautiful things, you have transcendent idea. So it's all about the music, the art, film, and photography. And that's the thing is, when it comes to photography, is that they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but now it's kind of been shifted to picture's worth 1,000 words and creates 1,000 questions as well. So, works created under this influence, can be quite spellbinding and quite captivating, and give you that sense of awness. But I have created a list of releases that have occurred in 2010. So we have, the film ones, and one that I absolutely love that came out was Eat, Pray, Love. But I'll put that list right here of some films to give you an idea of what was released under this influence. Now, if you add Jupiter to this, it's even more expansive and even more awe-inspiring and spellbinding as well. We have, different music that was very reflective of that Jupiter and Pisces type of stuff. Books, which is, Jupiter, the archetype of publishing. We're symbolic in nature as well, inspiring as well, and all about the mystery and I want to say made up figures like the elf on a shelf, for example, came out in 2010, and it became a new tradition. Funny enough, it'd be interesting to see on the release on that date if it was aspecting Saturn in any way. But however Pisces manifests in your life, you just want to keep this in mind, because what happens is that the past few years have taught us, resilience, tenacity, and although there's this, lingering dark, heavy cloud that's been hovering above us, Jupiter in Pisces does offer that silver lining. Yes, there is that element of psychosis, to this energy and stuff like that, but Jupiter will bring that truth out, and there is that healing energy to that, and this is going to be the only conjunction, the one and only conjunction that will occur between the two, and it won't happen for quite some time in Pisces, and because the next conjunction that will occur will be between Jupiter and Neptune, will be in Aries. So it's not like it's going to retrograde and make another hit. This is the quote unquote the one-shot deal of this conjunction. So whatever you initiate under this energy, that is the silver lining that occurs. And with this conjunction also comes to the understanding is that what affects one affects us all. It'll give us this energy of connectedness to the other, because again, Jupiter and Neptune ruling Sagittarius and Pisces, they're very universal and collective signs, and so this connection to oneness, which is very much about Neptune, will create this shift of consciousness and awareness, which is very refreshing considering the increased polarization that's been going on in humanity, the division of one side versus the other. But we'll come to realize, and this is the beginning of the cycle that'll help us come to realize that what affects my fellow neighbor, my fellow countryman, my fellow human, affects me ultimately. And no one's immune from the domino effect of whatever happens to each and every one of us. And so this is a very much a coming together type of energy. And the thing is, when it comes to Pisces, it's very about unconditional love and Jupiter will expand that. And so that's a very refreshing thing to look forward to. And it's a very beautiful new cycle to add into this layer of energy, despite what's been going on, despite the beginning of energies that have been presenting themselves in 2020 and 2021. 2022 is a year that'll bring about a level of balance to that heavy energy. Again, and it's also for the purpose of ushering hope, faith, compassion, empathy for humanity at large. So I hope this interpretation of Jupiter conjunct Neptune offers in, a sense of encouragement and faith and hope. And don't forget, dream big. This is the time, folks. And of course, I will be back throughout the year doing interpretations of major energies that are occurring. I'm going to start off with some monthly interpretations. So I will be back doing more videos like this, giving you the cosmic currents occurring in the cosmos. And of course, don't forget, do visit www.cocreatingtoday. There's a variety of educational tools that are always growing. The world will be adding more products throughout the year. Educational tools to empower you to learn the language of astrology.